and we can get. All right, Mike, here we go. All right. Thank you for coming and joining us on the Real Leaders podcast. This is Zachary Adler. I'm filling in for Kevin Edwards today. Today I have quite the guest. It's Mike Gerbis. He is the CEO of what he likes to call a constellation of businesses, those being the Delphi Group, Globe, Leading Change, and CBSR. Mike, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Great. I'm great, Zach, and thanks for having me and inviting me. And it's great to be here with you and all your listeners.
Yeah, of course. I really appreciate you coming on, and I know I'm excited to learn about these constellations, and I'm sure my audience is as well. So, yeah, why don't we get started by just giving a brief intro about sort of what this constellation business model means to you, and how it came to fruition.
Awesome. So, well, thanks again. So the group of organizations, we're a collective of different organizations that all have a different mission, but we're all focused around the same vision, which is to create a sustainable, prosperous, and socially just future in a generation. And the history happened over a number of years. But the main company, the Delphi Group, is one of the first strategic consulting firms in the sustainability and climate change space. If you can believe it, we've been around since 1988. And you'd all know us because if you go into a hotel room and hang up a towel or put a card on your bed, we did that program, launched that program in 1988. Sweet. And so we then took over the Globe Group, which is a convening organization. It brings innovators and leaders together to really drive forward sustainability, but they've been around since 1990 also. So again, leaders in their group, but they joined our collective organizations. Leading Change, all about empowering youth, so young people that are really passionate about making positive change. And then CBSR is called the Canadian Business for Social Responsibility, and it's a membership organization that is all about empowering leaders, executives through peer-to-peer learning so that they can advance sustainability in their organization.
Sweet. That's just fascinating. I mean, I know you've talked about this before, but heading 4 organizations is definitely quite the challenge compared to what most CEOs face, which is just manning one ship. So I'm curious, in your role, are you overseeing strategy for these 4, or are you more on a day-to-day, like seeing what's going on and making changes and growth and all that?
No, I oversee them. So we have leads for each of them, which is fantastic. Fantastic dynamic leaders. So Elizabeth Shirt runs Globe, Caroline Brown runs Delphi, Bo Aganaba runs Leading Change, and Ted Ferguson leads CBSR. And so I sit over top, focused on strategy, finances, being an ambassador. And really driving culture. Culture is the most important thing to me. So make sure and we can maintain our culture.
Yeah, I hear that. I think that seems to be a commonality between CEOs. Is company culture is sort of one of those top 3. Like, if you don't get this right, your business isn't going to go anywhere.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I call it the inside out. So one of the questions you threw was, how does your business model sustain impact, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of leaders sort of focus on the outside first, telling the story, reputation, sort of clients, external. And I'm a real believer, you got to start on the inside. Like the most important element of our success and having positive impact is our people, right? The culture, getting alignment around that vision, strong leadership that's passionate about the vision, and then hiring people who are hungry, they're humble, they're smart, and then you're leading by values. You're creating a safe space, so you're treating everybody with dignity and respect, and you're making all your decisions through a values lens. Once you get that right, then you can go out externally, right, and start to really have an impact outside and attract those partners and clients that are also aligned with your vision.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's so fascinating that impact organizations have this unique. I think it's a competitive advantage in the market. There's definitely a couple ways that plays out, but one of them seems to really be around people and talent, especially younger talent being really interested in working for values aligned business. Do you see that as a competitive advantage as well? Do you find that you
Yeah.
have a lot of really amazing people who are happy and excited to work for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I'd never want young people to work like I used to work when I was, 20, 30 years younger than I am. And
Yeah.
there's a new look on life, right? That it's more about just the bottom line. It's more about just working your butt off to, climb the corporate ladder. You now want to do something and you want to have friendships. You want to have a value at work. And so creating that culture and getting known for it, I find really allows us to attract the top talent.
Hmm.
And we even have a philosophy in our culture that, we're just part of the journey, right? I don't expect people to stay with us for 30 years like me and my business partner have.
Right.
But some may, and some may stay a year or two and move on. And that's okay. As long as they're having fun, they're learning, they're growing professionally and personally, then fantastic, right?
Yeah, no, it sounds very much like we've talked a lot. I've talked with other executives about this idea that business is in this really big transition period where we're not focusing so much on employee retainment throughout the life cycle. It's not about just work here. The benefits may not be great, but there's this weird loyalty that's sort of mixed in with that employee-employer relationship. And the new way we're kind of looking at business, at least businesses that are going to survive, is that there is a really positive connection between employees and employers. And
Yeah.
it's not, you're not trying to lock them down and keep them at your business forever. It's really about what you're doing and how you're doing it instead of just keeping people around for no reason. So yeah.
Absolutely. And they're part of the team, right? And what I mean by that is I'm not here as the CEO to dictate what everybody does. You have to co-create, you have to innovate, especially when you're a person-led team like we are, right? A service business. So we're always looking to grow, and over COVID, our staff, our younger staff in particular, were a huge source of ideas and new policies and programs that we needed to do to take care of mental health, to address, diversity and inclusion, to tackle tough issues, right? They were the voices that came forward. And I think as a leader, you have to be open to that and you have to work with them. This is not a dictatorship. It doesn't work that way anymore. Well, I don't think that's good leadership, right? It's about
Yeah.
co-creating and being part of a team.
Yeah. How do you incorporate those collective voices? How do you listen to the people who maybe are newer to the company and haven't necessarily proven that or I don't know if it's proven their worth, but I'm just curious how you're incorporating so many different voices from a myriad of businesses that you're managing.
Yeah, for sure. So one, we have a very transparent and I'll call it non-hierarchical. So anybody can contact me directly. They can talk to their supervisors and they can raise any issue. And I used to travel before COVID and meet the people individually, but now more virtually. But I will meet one-on-one with staff and in small groups. And the deal is you can tell me or say anything, and it's between me and you. And I will look into those challenges. I'll take those ideas under consideration. We then have an environment committee, a JEDI committee, a culture committee, a mental health committee, right? So we form committees that anybody can join. And then those ideas or concerns are always taken forward and raised up into what we call our SLT, which makes the day-to-day operations, or the ELT, where you need to make investments and decide. But the whole idea is creating a safe environment, right? So that is the number one part in the culture, is to maintain the values, but you have to feel safe that you can come forward and say, hey, this isn't working. And you may be on the job 2 days and I'll say, okay, that's interesting. Tell me more, and then we take a look at it. And so it doesn't matter if you've been there 2 days or 20 years, right? We want to hear new ideas because, again, you have to be open to that and you have to listen and understand what's going on to be better, I think.
I think that's super fascinating. I'm curious how long, I mean, you've been in these businesses, you said since the late 80s, is that right?
Yeah, so that's 30 years now for
Yeah.
me. Yeah, yeah.
Is that model something that you've grown into, or has that been sort of a flagship for your business model?
Well, I think it's a combination. So I'll say it's always been a purpose-led organization, right? So we always did things, we created the first climate change badge, for example, for Scouts. I think you have Scouts America, we have
Yeah.
Scouts Canada, right?
Yeah.
And we created the climate change. We did that to give back, right? So we did these things to give back and grow the community. We give 1% of our gross sales to charity. So that underlying kind of values and who we are and purpose driven was there. However, when I started and my business partner, we were working ridiculous hours, 60, 80 hours. Well, we
Wow.
don't do that anymore, right? We have an overtime policy for consulting and events management, which is unheard of, right? For everybody up to director. And we preach the balance, right?
Hmm.
And it's not balanced every week, no, but over a year it is. And we constantly update policies and try to be better. That's the point I'm trying to get is we started with a foundation, but we never stop learning as we go because
Yeah.
we just have to keep trying to do better on things.
Yeah. No, I think I think that speaks to the sort of the life cycle of an organization, and that
Yeah.
um it's not necessarily something that's fixed, and it can be pliant and movable, and as you grow, so does the organization. And I'm sure that prevents some stagnation from occurring and having a business that just dies, eventually,
Yeah,
because it won't change and there's nothing to be done about it.
that's right. And
Yeah.
that's true with leadership, right? I'm getting grayer, right? And so we are very open about succession and transition.
Hmm.
And we're always talking about how we can grow people and try to work with people to grow. And that might be, you know what, they're going to move on to something else outside of the organization and we'll help them do that. Or it might be internally. And I'm the first one to say, when someone wants my job, I will get out of the way, right?
Hmm.
And that has to be a model for people rather than kind of holding on, right?
Hold on to
Because if you,
power. Yeah.
yeah, you hold on, that's not good for an organization. It's not good for the culture. And it's not good to make good impact, right? We have to do this together and we have to know when to shift, when to move out of the way, when to let things go.
Yeah. Wow, I think that's sweet. I just wanted to come back to this constellation business model, and I guess learn more about how you went about formulating the
Yeah.
constellation, about, because you're talking about this idea of creation and renewal and letting things go. And it sounds like, you're not in charge of every part of each of these four businesses. You've built
Yeah.
them, and you're sort of moving on in a sort of way to let other people manage and grow them.
That's
Um,
right.
how did you come about this? Did you started with just Delphi, right?
Yeah, so just Delphi. So I
Okay.
took over Delphi in 2006,
Okay.
and we had a strategic partnership with what was called the Globe Foundation at the time that ran Globe Series. So the big events we put on, the convening. Long story short, CEO retired and he came to us and said, "Hey, do you want to run this?" And
Huh.
the light bulb went on of this is an awesome opportunity. Like we're in helping companies become more sustainable and advance them. But if we can bring the innovators and leaders together and really drive the conversation forward, those two can really start to work together, right? The application, the dialogue, and you can increase or you can accelerate change, right? Positive change.
Yeah.
And then we had a group called, Leading Change within Delphi. It was in Delphi, and it was something I founded in 2003. And we
Mhm.
just did it at the side of our desk. And we're like, you know what? We should make that a formal not-for-profit, get a board, start putting some, a vision around it, a strategy. What do we want to deliver and so forth? And then they start to work together, right? So then we're bringing youth into the convening. We're learning from young people, initiatives we need to drive forward in the sustainability. And
Mhm.
then we brought CBSR, the membership organization, in, and all of a sudden all four are now working. I call it a flywheel, for
Yep.
those people, you spin the flywheel and it gets more and more momentum.
Sure.
And it acts as a catalyst, and they work together. So now we're working with young people, leaders, all the stakeholders, and then we're applying it in the consulting. And it allows our clients to be able to engage us on multiple platforms and accelerate their journey also.
Yeah, no, I think that's just fantastic. You've heard of like the ecosystem concept where businesses sort of work in partnership very close with each other. There's not sort of this keep my leads away from yours. It's very open, and it's saying like let's build a whole breakfast, and just instead of just serving you eggs or bacon or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we realized probably early on, but really started to apply it the last sort of decade or so, is that to scale solutions, to accelerate the transition, to solve climate change, right, and get to a more sustainable future, we need to work together, like now, right? So more collaboration means more impact, and well, that's simple. Our MO, it's not simple to do, but it's what drives our innovative group of organizations. So we'll support collaboration on a small scale, working with specific clients across a diverse platform. And then on a larger one, we'll co-create these initiatives, find diverse set of partnerships that can really drive big changes. And the result is 1 + 1 = 5, or 1 + 1 = 11 on certain initiatives. But we have to do it together, right?
Yeah. I'm very curious, is there perhaps a way that this constellation could expand to include businesses that you're maybe not managing, but businesses which you find there's more strategic partnerships, like with this giant problem that we're the many problems we face as a world: climate change, social upheaval, economic instability. It seems like there needs to be a large stratification across many industries, so that there's sort of a constellation that can span the sky, instead of just making a connection between 4 businesses.
Exactly. And that's the whole concept. Is think of what we have now is the inner rings, right, of the solar system, the 4 organizations. And what we're always trying to do, and do it, say, by project, or it could be a much more lasting partnership, is look for organizations that augment the strengths of that group, or fill a gap, or can provide financing, or can provide expertise we don't have, to accelerate some initiatives or accelerate the change we have. So we're absolutely always open to talking to people and seeing how we can work together.
Yeah, I think you mentioned on another podcast, I'm not sure the name, it was Awakened Organization, with Peter. You mentioned that our economy isn't set up to incentivize positive business. It's not set up to make businesses do good. And so in a way, you're trying to create your own microeconomy, I suppose, in a way that does incentivize business to do good, and perhaps creates this partnership through constellation, or through close ecosystem engagement, that is, it changes the way we go about capitalism. It's more of a conscious capitalism that you're sort of trying to enact.
Absolutely, right. I mean, and that's the basis of who we are. We're all entrepreneurs. Getting good profit and driving business is important. I have to have profit to put investment in, to pay people, etc. I'm not debating that. I think where I was going with Peter on that one was, we just seem to have lost the plot that it's all about the profit, and it's not. It's about the people and the communities, right? If we don't have people, and we don't have healthy people and healthy communities, we don't have businesses. So we need to change our perspective, again, my belief, and focus on those things outside of the business. Again, the people, the good, strong environment, right? Diverse perspectives, equality, etc. Right? And so we're trying. You're right. In our little collective, we're trying to advance that, and then bring others on board. And what I've seen is this amazing sort of transformation of the business community starting to see the value, right? The value of looking at environmental and social elements in making good business decisions. And that's where I get the hope,
Right.
From.
Yeah, sort of the transformation of mindset. I know, like Netflix, for example, their business model succeeds because their only initiative, the only thing they cared about was making it easier for the customer. And at this point, we're not as much, oh, let's make it easier for the customer. It's let's support our customer base so that they're healthy and happy. Let's support our employees so that they're doing work they believe in. Let's support other businesses who are values aligned, and it just makes business better. And that's the transformation that can occur. So
and it not only makes the business better, it makes our communities better, right? If we're giving back, if we're supporting youth and young people and people at risk and so forth, right? It makes society better. And I know that seems a little, idealistic, but I think that's what we have to strive for, because again, that's how we've survived, is working together and being a community.
That's sweet. Well, Mike, we're coming to the end, but I have one question that we like to ask every podcast guest, and that is, what is your definition of a real leader?
Yeah, I love this question. I was thinking a lot about it, and I was trying to think of a couple of simple words, and what came to mind, particularly given, today's time when there's a lot of what I'll call toxic, I won't call them leaders either, but toxic people, focused on power and money. Real leaders about humility, right? Versus ego. So there's an integrity there, there's authenticity, there's vulnerability. You and I talked about that at the beginning, there's empathy. And then a real leader is all about we or us versus me, So it's about creating that safe environment. It's about always bringing new and diverse perspectives. It's about co-creating. It's not, this old style of my way or the highway. Exact opposite, right? So those leaders are people who, they have high EQ, right? They're always learning. They're trying to do things differently, but they realize they have to do that with a group of people and co-create and collaborate and learn and do better themselves, And I think that's what a real leader is. In anything.
I think that's a great answer. I like that a lot. Sweet. Well, that is about the end of our show here. I suppose, is there anything else you want to leave our audience with? Anything that you wanted to bring up, mention, anywhere you can find you, or any new initiatives that you want us to know about?
Yeah, so people can reach out to me, LinkedIn, especially young people, any of the websites and so forth. You can get my email if you want. But I think I want to say to everybody, especially young people, I know how tough it is right now with climate change and wars and all this stuff, but we have to have hope and we have to work together, and we can do this. Human ingenuity is just amazing. And when you put that youthful energy and new ideas in that, we can solve any problem. And so I know for those folks that are going to dark places sometimes, looking at the news and so forth, pull yourself out of it. We can do this, but we got to do it together and find those other positive people to be there along your way, along your journey, and have fun, as you said, Zach. I love that at the beginning. Have fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I do wish I could have you on for another half hour, an hour, because I think we could probably chat for quite a while. But we'll save that for the next podcast. To everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, keep it real. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Take care, Zach.
Thank you.